Breaking news here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. The Seahawks officially begin the offseason by releasing 4 players, including Dre'Mont Jones and Rayshawn Jenkins. The news coming out just moments ago from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, who put this out on X, saying the following. The Seahawks have released defensive tackle Roy Robertson-Harris, Rayshawn Jenkins, George Fant, and Dre'Mont Jones. So what does this mean for Seattle? Well, these are all about caps moves. And this now gives Seattle over $25 million in additional cap space, which is something they badly needed here, folks. And if you recall, going into this offseason, we've talked a lot about how the Hawks did not have much cap space. They got some relief from the NFL with the cap number that the NFL put out of $279.5 million being much higher than expected. Now you make these cap casualty moves, and there's some more moves potentially coming. We'll touch on that coming up later on. And now you find yourself in a much better position than you were even just a couple of weeks ago. My one-word reaction, these moves were expected, I think. And I know there's some big names, some guys that played significant roles on this team. When you talk about Rayshawn Jenkins, who was a big signing for Seattle last offseason, when you mentioned Dre'Mont Jones, who was paid a lot of money, and you didn't see a ton of results. George Fant, there was excitement about of him coming in last offseason. And Roy Robertson-Harris, a guy you traded for last year. All of these different players are notable for one reason or another. And now you find yourself saying, you know what? We don't have to pay these guys. We can save that money, and we're going to be fine without them. And to me, that's what makes this A-OK for Seattle in this circumstance, that you say, okay, we can slash this money, and we didn't get that much worse. And in fact, because we can use those resources on other things, we actually have a chance to get significantly better now of where we're going to dedicate our resources to. John Schneider, Mike Macdonald, these are smart moves. These are necessary moves. And I know it's not always easy for fans to accept when players move on. But these are the right decisions and tough decisions that ultimately had to be made. What's your one-word reaction? I gave you my one-word reaction. I said expected. What is yours? Sound off in the comments section and let us know what your one-word reaction is to the players that were released with these moves today. Folks, this is why you subscribe to Seattle Seahawks Today. It is going to be a very eventful offseason. We already told you that we expected this to be a busy week for the Hawks leading into the start of free agency next week. And here we are, and we already got a number of moves already happening. We're going to cover it each and every day with our daily news and rumors, sometimes bring you 2 and 3 videos a day. Our live shows, we're going to have live free agency coverage next week. This is why you subscribe. Nobody is covering this team like we are here on Seahawks Today. No one is dedicated to this team like we are here with our team at Chat Sports. Subscribe now. Let's get at least 50 subs off today's video. It does us a big thank you. The best way you can support us for the work we're bringing you here on the channel is just by simply hitting that sub button. Subscribe now for youtube.com/Seahawks TV. So let's run through these cap casualties one by one and talk about what Seattle is going to do next in each circumstance, starting with Dre'Mont Jones. Dre'Mont Jones, you spent a hell of a lot of money on to bring him over from the Denver Broncos, and there was some legit excitement. I remember we did a live show the night he signed. It's like, all right, got a pretty good pass rusher here, and you look 2 years later, it didn't work out. It simply did not work out. You paid him a lot of money. You had high hopes and expectations, and it didn't matter if it was under Pete Carroll or Mike Macdonald. Dre'Mont Jones never played to his full potential. And the story, when they write the book on Dre'Mont Jones, his legacy is going to be the what if, right? His story of his career is going to be thought of man, this guy had some real talent, but he didn't know how to use it right. And that's unfortunate for him because the talent's there, but it didn't all come together. And it's a missed opportunity for Dre'Mont Jones that he wasn't able to maximize on his full potential and his full capabilities. Rayshawn Jenkins came into Seattle, was immediately named a starter next to Julian Love. And there was a thought that he could be kind of this year's Julian Love of sorts. Remember, Julian Love comes in, Pro Bowl campaign, and was fantastic. And Rayshawn Jenkins had shown some flashes in Jacksonville, had that big fumble recovery against the New York Giants, and then it all went downhill from there. Obviously, had the injuries, got replaced by Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant ended up having a nice second half of the season, outplaying Rayshawn Jenkins, and Rayshawn Jenkins ultimately didn't get his job back. And with Dre'Mont Jones, I expect him to be replaced by a younger player. With Rayshawn Jenkins, you already have his replacement in Kobe Bryant. Not only did it not make financial sense to pay Rayshawn Jenkins, he already isn't the best option at the job he was asked to do. Seattle's just fine there. Moving on from Rayshawn Jenkins. Initially, they gave him permission to go seek a trade. Nobody was trading for him. Everybody knew he was about to get cut. So why would anybody give up anything for a backup safety with a high cap hit? So this made sense. George Fant. So initially when the Hawks brought in George Fant, we had the concerns about Abraham Lucas and his injury situation. We didn't know when Abraham Lucas was coming back next season. And so you brought in George Fant to be the insurance policy as your swing tackle to potentially start in place of Abraham Lucas. And then if Abraham Lucas was back, then he could be your swing tackle and fill in if called upon for either Lucas or Charles Cross. Problem was you had a week 1 injury to George Fant. Goes to injured reserve, finally gets healthy, and then he gets injured again. So when the backup can't even stay healthy, and granted it wasn't a big sample size, but what we saw of him wasn't that great either. I mean, this was maybe the easiest decision of all. And then Roy Robertson-Harris really kind of fell out of grace. Never was, I would say, convinced to get much playing time. And so that was another one where you just look at the numbers, you punch them in like, yeah, we're going to be fine here. At the end of the day, all 4 of these guys are replaceable, which is what makes this so easy for Seattle here, is that you free up the money and you can replace them with cheaper, younger players at those positions. Now you're close to about $40 million in cap space, which is much better than what you were at just a few weeks ago. And there's still more moves to come. I think Tyler Lockett's getting released. That's going to be $17 million you're going to open up, and then all of a sudden you're at $57 million. All right? Now, let's keep on going here. How about another one for you? Geno Smith. I think he gets extended. And then you are looking at about an additional $24 million that you have freed up for that extension for Geno Smith. And then I think a decision on DK one way or the other is coming this week. I expect that to be an extension. I don't think he gets traded, but that will free up even more money after that. So you can see, although Seattle started off this offseason in purgatory, in salary cap hell with Lucifer himself, now they find themselves actually in a pretty decent spot. So, all things considered, I know it's tough to say goodbye sometimes, but I would say that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and the roster's not much worse, if at all, with these moves that are being made and what's coming up next. What move do you think is on the horizon? I've already told you a couple that I think are on the way. What comes in mind to you? Way in that comment section, give me a prediction of what that is. Going to be a fun week here on Seahawks Today. Lock us in. Subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.